topic 8 on additional strategies is made up of 2 readings, one on fund of funds and one on equity-linked structured products. So we will begin with fund of funds. We're all familiar with the basic structure of fund of funds and investment in private funds, individual private funds that are ultimately blind pool investments when the investments are made. They're typically structured as limited partnerships and then newly formed limited partnerships, hence the notion of them being blind pool investments. The fund of funds themselves, of course, are not necessarily blind pool investments. And then with respect to the which type of institutional investor invests in fund of funds, generally the smaller institutions will use fund of funds versus investing in private funds directly, or particularly constructing their own portfolio of private funds due to the costs associated with that compared to investing in a fund of fund. And then fund of funds provide a whole series of services, from due diligence of those private fund managers to then selecting the managers, then using the managers to construct their portfolio and managing the risk and monitoring the risks associated with the portfolio. Compared to investing directly in hedge funds, fund of funds can also add value, one, in terms of selecting those individual managers, and 2 and 3, I guess, is the strategic and tactical allocation processes that they provide. And again, this is compared to directly investing in hedge funds. Or really any direct private fund investment. Now, fund of funds offer a series of different benefits. One is the diversification provided by investing in a portfolio of funds, but there's a whole series of other advantages that you need to know. And there's always drawbacks as well to different investment structures, as there are here. A key one that we repeatedly see in this discussion is this double layer of fees, incentive fee and management fee that's paid both to the fund of fund manager and the underlying fund managers. And then a whole series of other disadvantages as well. Now, remember, on the CAIA exam, they can ask you to list 1 or 2 of these, 3 or 4 of these. Obviously, they're not going to ask you to list 11 of them, but they can phrase questions in a way that will sort of make sure that you know most of the material. So, for example, they might say that an investor is aware of, let's say, these 4 disadvantages associated with fund of funds, and ask in the question for you to state 2 other disadvantages of investing in fund of funds. So they give you 4 of them and then ask you for the remaining 2. So essentially, you can't really game this by saying, oh, if it's a really long list, I'll just remember some of them and hopefully that will come up, because they may give you some of those and ask you for remaining ones. Excuse me. All right, here we just talk a little bit about PE style fund of funds, private equity style fund of funds, which is essentially what we talk about in most of our discussions anyway. These fund of fund structures come at costs. One of the costs is the fees associated with them that we mentioned on the other slide, the double layer of fees. And these can make these essentially cost inefficient relative to investing directly in a fund. But generally, institutional investors are not looking at making direct investments in private funds. They're really looking at portfolios. So they're going to compare a fund and fund investment with a portfolio of private funds, in this case, private equity type funds. And the latter, they would have to construct in-house. So how do they determine which they're going to use? They basically have to compare the costs, and based on the cost, fund of funds may still be more cost efficient. And particularly, as we mentioned on the previous slide, for small institutions, it definitely is more cost efficient than constructing an in-house program. Another sort of cost of investing in fund of funds is the loss of control and information of investors, because the fund of fund manager then has control of the investments that are made and all the information that's relayed and shared.